Well, now I'd like to go to Al Collins. Al's been on the show before and done some great modeling for us. Tonight, he's going to talk about detailing models. So, Al, welcome.
There we go. Thanks, Jim. Daryl and I did not collaborate at all on doing these detailing things back to back, but there are certainly some parallels. Unfortunately, Nicole Kidman was busy, so you're going to have to listen to me instead of her sexy voice. So I'm going to bring up, this is the first time I've done this on my own with this keynote presentation, so hopefully you'll be impressed. A little bit, you've met me before, but maybe a little bit of proper introduction. I've been modeling 60 plus years, started with Triang. First job was in a hobby shop. 35 years ago, I started Mount Albert scale lumber. I've cut miles and miles of basswood. I hooked up with Jerry Cornwell and Roger Malinowski a number of years ago, and we started Mount Albert scale models. I seem to go from different careers where I sometimes have more free time and sometimes I don't. So the last career when I retired, I came up with the idea of automation. So I'm making some automation tools that you've seen, and a new one coming up very shortly. But it seems like I just tend to come back to making sawdust. So where are we going to go here with, look at that. Now I'm going to share. How do I share my screen now? Oh, I got to share screen first.
Now you want to click on the share screen at the bottom and then typically your upper left screen will be your
I don't see the
desktop.
share screen icon.
Are you on Zoom?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, share screen. Al's tips, share. There we go. Play. All right, Al's tips and techniques. So another brief explanation. I don't know if Clark's on here or not. I put this on for our little group up here in Toronto or Southern Ontario, and at his insistence, I fine-tuned it and brought it up here tonight. Al Collins, MLM, just a little bit of background on that. That's our group is affectionately known as the Maple Leaf Mafia. And that was a nickname given to us by the Mid-Atlantic group down in Pennsylvania years and years ago, Roger Cutter, when we used to go down there with our modules to Pleasant Valley and Kimberton, and it stuck. So we're affectionately known as the Maple Leaf Mafia. So going along hand in hand and talking to Jim with his mentoring concepts, which are great. Over the years, like I say, 60 odd years I've been modeling. One of my greatest frustrations was, and there was guys in our own group, comrades, if you like, that did some beautiful models, but they wouldn't share any of their techniques. You'd ask a question, how did you do that? How did you finish that? And the answer, well, I'm not going to share my secrets. So that was extremely frustrating. So with our group, I started a bit of a diorama, a wharf scene, and I thought, okay, it's like a build along, but it's going to take a long time. So what I'm doing as I'm building this, I'm going to share any tips or techniques or tools or anything I come across as I'm doing it. I'm going to share. And if I push this button, so the first thing I'm going to just flash a couple of models that I've built. And I, like Daryl, I'm fascinated and I thoroughly enjoy and I'm almost addicted to detailing. This is a semi-scratch built. It's a Mount Albert kit. Like I say, I know a guy. So I've taken a lot of these kits and modified them. This was a John Allen engine house that I drastically modified to what I thought in my mind it should look like. And again, concentrating on details. A lot of this stuff, I have no idea where it came from. A lot of castings are from a junk drawer. A lot of it came from Wiseman, Berkshire Valley. I just, whenever I see something, I collect it and I put it in a bin and I said, no, I can use that. So I won't bore you too much with these. I'll flip through. Again, concentrating on details, which is the whole object of what we're doing here. Our artista figures. Details are like the Walter Mitty. They bring the fantasy to life. Walter Mitty used to lock himself in the basement and go off on fantastic journeys like Don Quixote. And now, if you could detail a model, it makes it that much more real. A lot of this is just the windmills of my mind. So the latest kit, and this is the one that it's like a build along, I suppose. And I've done this completely backwards. This is a Bar Mills kit called Oak Leaf, and I built the building first. I detailed it as I went, and then I'm going to build a wharf, and then I'm going to try and make the scenery match the building and the wharf. I guess that's in the true sense of the word, that scratch building, because I spend more time scratching my head than anything else. So the first thing I want to look at is the siding. It's the clapboard siding. And this is time consuming. It's O scale. Sorry, I'm going to back up. It's O scale, and it's at the back of the base of this is O scale milled siding, which I actually built the cutters for a long time ago. But it's pretty boring, and it's kind of hard to make it look anywhere realistic. So HO 1x10s fit perfectly on the O scale clapboard backing, and it just takes a little time. I used to, get up in the morning, get up for a pee, come and glue 8 boards on, then go back to bed or whatever. But eventually it'll all come together. You've got to be very careful when you're doing it, because you're gluing one side of the wood only, and the tendency is to go like a banana. So you've got to stop every once in a while and put some weights on it till the glue sets, and then it won't warp quite so badly. And then as you start putting the model together, of course, you can put some stiffeners on the back. Interesting little tool in the background there that will be coming out soon. Another little tip, again, 1/4 inch scale. These are laser cut shingles that I think will be coming available from Fast Tracks. They were designed to be on a 1/4 inch matrix. 1/4 inch graph paper is really already, the lines are there for you. A little bit of spray adhesive, stick it on, and you can lay your shingles on. That's a perfect job. And then here's for you, Rick. This is Rick's Driftwood Stain and a little bit of Cordova Brown. If you just go gently, you won't, be really careful, because the alcohol will dissolve the glue. So if you soak something like these shingles and there's not a whole lot of glue holding them on, sometimes they'll come loose. So just gently, little coats at a time. The nice thing is that as it dries, so you can see here that they'll give, some of the shingles will curl, and it gives a nice effect. Corrugated roofing. This is aluminum corrugated roofing. I've never had a real success with the Archer etch, and I've got something else to try here. I did these with hydrochloric acid to try and dull them down, but you still end up with some shiny spots down in the valleys. Anyway, some powders and a little bit of airbrushing, you can fix that up. So to put this on, the tape that's rolled up there is 3M. It's transfer tape. It's available on the internet. I think Amazon actually sells it. And what, believe it or not, it is designed for, it's polyvinyl acetate film, and it's about 2 thou thick. And what it's used for is the commercial window guys, when they're putting big plate glass windows in the front of storefronts, and they've got aluminum mullions, they put this double-sided tape on the mullions, and they'll push 8-foot square sheet of 1/4 inch plate glass into that opening, and this stuff will hold it in place long enough for them to get the other side of the aluminum retainers on. So just a few strips of that, and it's a great way to stick down the roofing material like this. You can even use it for tar paper. It's a great product for that. I was going to talk about the rust, but I'm not going to bother. Micromart sells the same thing in a liquid. Depending on what you're doing, this is a great tool. I think they use it, sometimes guys use it for canopy cement. There is stuff called canopy cement, but this does sort of the same job. So if you've got where you're overlapping the sheets like this, you can't properly use the tape. So you want to use something so you can, intermesh the corrugations. This really works well. And the nice thing is when you get to the end, you can paint. You can paint that glue right in the corrugations. It'll stay tacky for long enough that you can place it and it'll hold down, and it does a nice job. Voila. Just briefly, the rust effect I had on here is a new product out by MIG. I'm a great proponent of all the wonderful paints and finishes that AK and MIG have for the armaments. They're way ahead of the model railroad industry as far as painting goes. This is a new product they have, and it's one of those two-step rust products where the base coat has very fine iron powder in it, and then you activate it. I'm not really happy with it so far. I got to play with it some more to see if I can get, I need more practice to be able to use it properly. So I'll reserve judgment on that. So now we go on with some more details. Daryl, I got the stuff you sent me this morning. Daryl sent me a care package of some of his details. I didn't have time to put them together, but Jim's asked me to come back in a couple of weeks as I progress with my little diorama. So I'll put some of Daryl's details together, and we'll talk about those. Train Troll is a company down in Rhode Island. It does a lot of waterfront stuff. Very fine laser work. Takes a bit of time, but if you can think about something else, and instead of watching TV or falling asleep on the couch like I usually do, you can put together some crates, which are a great detail for, again, I'm doing a wharf, so crates like this are coming in. I've got some little part of the building is a freezer for fish. I needed some ice, so my granddaughter was here. She had some beads, and I said, boy, if I smash up some of those little beads, it'll be really nice for ice. So she didn't miss the clear colored ones. I don't know if Bill's on tonight. He said he would be, but perhaps not. Again, details. Little pallets. He makes a little kit with a little jig. Phil, I apologize. The nail holes are way too big, but by the time you put stack stuff on them, the nail holes aren't that visible anyway. It takes a little bit of time for these details, but at the end of the day, it's well worth it. Workbenches, you can make your own workbench. I think these are like 10 or 11 bucks, 2 workbenches. They come, all you gotta do is glue them together. The only thing that I haven't been able to buy is time. If I can buy a kit and make a couple of workbenches, they're already cut for me. It's worth a few bucks to do that. Nick, he's been on here before. Nick Massney, he makes this really neat little insert for his buildings. He makes them in HO and O scale. He says they're 3D interiors. Well, I call them 2.5D interiors because they the crates are only basically the front wall of the crate with a little bit of a relief on it. You glue them up. You build up the foreground. The back blends in. Flat black is your friend when you're trying to do an interior. So when it's done, the flat black just disappears. The crates look like they're 3D, but like I said, they're 2D in a little bit. So you can put a light on them. It looks like a warehouse full of of crates when really it's only a 3-inch insert. Amazing. And Daryl and I did not talk about this, but there's the Sprue Cutters, and they're perfect. And what I use them for, NBWs are my friend. I use them everywhere, but sometimes I can't, as you can see on this little crane, you can't sort of be drilling a lot of holes and putting NBWs in from both sides. So you just snip them off with that Sprue Cutter, perfectly flat, a little spot of plastic cement, and you're done. Another tool that I think is invaluable, I just had a little surgery, so they are invaluable, but it's a scalpel. They are much more sharper. That's good English, Al. Much sharper than X-Acto 11 blades. They don't last as long. I just put a new one in every time I could go into my workshop. The blades are cheap, but they make a perfect cut. As you can see, I cut into the siding there and just let that little crane in. Perfect. So when we're going back to details, which is the object of this whole thing. So as you can tell, I enjoy detailing. So it took me quite some time to detail the interior of this engine house, not to mention the exterior. And quite often what I'll do is I'll set the details out before I go to bed, and then I'll come down in the morning before I glue them and make sure I'm happy with them. So this took me a couple of weeks to set this all up. But then the finishing touch. I'm not going to take the roof off my model every time someone wants to see it, and there's no point building a model without a roof. So I've taken a different approach where I only detail the inside of buildings where you can see. As an example, you can see in that sliding door, again, nail holes are way too big. I think, Chris, that's one of your pet peeves, and it is mine too. I'll get better at making smaller nail holes, but you get the whole concept of having an interior in a very short space, small space, without detailing the whole interior and hiding it with a roof. Again, same thing. These are some 3D printed parts from Rusty Stumps. Walter Gillespie, unfortunately, has retired for the second time, so I don't know if those 3D printed parts will be available in the future or not. But from outside, it looks like there's a whole interior building. ITLA once more, some neat little fans. They're 24 thou laser board, just cut, glued together. My friend Jerry calls these, this little hit and miss engine, he calls these placeables. This is a 1/43 scale kit, but it works all right for O scale. The frame for this and the black part is supposed to be stacked wood to represent wood, and I don't like trying to paint white metal to look like wood. So if it's all possible, I'll replace these slides are in order. I'll replace what should be wood with wood as much as possible. These are bits and pieces to go on that little hit and miss engine. The thing on the bottom is a very handy tool. You buy that at a pet store. It's a scratch pad for cats instead of scratching the furniture. You can get these little sticks with alligator clips. You can make them yourselves with skewers, or you can buy them at the hobby shops. Great tool for painting stuff. So this little hit and miss engine went together. It's a water cooled engine. You can see the wood, the real wood frame and the real wood blocks that hold the water tank up. Are a whole lot better than trying to paint white metal. And as the name implies, it's a placeable. So I just kind of thought it was all funky. So I'm going to put it wherever it fits on this diorama as I build it. Corks and double-sided tape. Excellent for painting little bits and pieces. There's one of Bill's workbenches down there, and a whole bunch of parts from Berkshire Valley. And I stole my spot for my little hit and miss engine. But these are what bring models to life, is the details. For me, the enjoyment is doing this. It makes the finished product. So that's where it is as far as the building goes for now. And this was for Bill Banta. Again, details. I hope he's there, but maybe not. This is a little ash pit, a plaster cast ash pit that Bill, I don't know if he still sells them or not, but he certainly used to. But with a little bit of detailing, the rest of the stuff's all scratch built, and a few weeds and some gravel, a little bit of dealing, that whole ash, or detailing, I should say, that whole ash pit comes to life. Quickly for the next issue I do, when I forget now, when Jim asked me to come back, is working on the wharf. You can't do, in my mind, you have to build fixtures or jigs. So this was the scratch build part. I literally I'm building this, scratching my head and figuring out where the next board goes as I go along. I don't have any drawings. And I really don't have a plan on a daily basis. I revamp what I'm doing. So I made a bit of a matrix. I made a bunch of bits and pieces. I started, it's like a Lego set almost, putting this together. I won't stay on this too long because I'll do another section on this when it comes out. I'll also do these for the next time around. These are some kits that Daryl sent me. I'm going to have a whole crowd of people on the wharf to see the Ark of the Covenant come off the boat. If I ever get a no-scale boat, that is. Anyway, that's a bunch of detailing. Is there any questions or comments?
Yes, Al, I do have a question. On the ash pit, you were showing some hose. And was that hose done with solder, or did you use some other material to create the hoses?
Well, believe it or not, that's solder with shrink tube over it. And it really is neat. Use a heat gun. The shrink tube gives you rubber. The solder holds the shape. So you put the shrink tube on, you very carefully heat it up with a heat gun, because you know what happens if you heat it too much. And then you can bend that virtual rubber hose now, because it's shrink tubing, and it'll stay in whatever shape you want.
That's a great tip. I've never heard of that before, but that's a great tip, Al.
That's
Yeah,
patented.
that's excellent. I have to concur. I've never heard of that one. I've heard of the solder and painting it, but I picked up that just didn't quite look right somehow, and I couldn't identify it. So,
Well, the
excellent idea.
Problem with solder is that paint doesn't like sticking to it. You paint it all up nicely, and as soon as you try to bend it, the paint all comes off. So, yeah, this was just anyway. So these are kind of things that are nice to share. I get no patience with people that say, "Oh, I can't tell you that. It's one of my secrets."
Well, I really appreciate you doing this, Al, because the details, to me, that's what people remember when they go see something or see a module or see a model railroad. They remember the detailed scenes. And that's why I was so happy that you wanted to do this and that Daryl wanted to do his every week, because the details, that's the art. That's part of the art to me of model railroading. That's the creativity of model railroading. You can build a kit, and that's fine, and the kit is great, but it's the detail that's going to be the difference in that kit that Al built versus Jim's built.
I've shown this picture because this is one of the interesting challenges. To the right of the picture, where the piers are, just where the decking is, and then the rail runs down the middle of the pier. They're all different height piers. And I got them all, look at that, they're all levels. So that the rail can go on the center section and the decking can go between the rails and on the sides, and it's all at the same level. Probably could never do that again.
Well,
Hey,
thank
Al,
you so much.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hey Al, be careful. If you keep on with these quick tips and all that, Paul might tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, be part of the quick tip team."
Now I'm too slow.
Well, thanks so much for doing this tonight. I look forward to you coming back and showing us the wharf and some more detailing.
How do I stop sharing here now? You want to get rid of me, right?
You're stopped. I did it a while back.
Oh, okay.